Okay, here comes Kevin Brown again. This is lap 4. He's still passing riders, Kevin Brown. Kevin's trying to make up time. It's tough getting by riders when you get back on these tighter sections. Okay, and on the 4th lap, Ron Naylor comes down Sawmill Canyon, cutting a quick time again. A few lap riders come by. And then coming down still a second is Tony Hendon. He's trying not to let Naylor get away from him. We go back to one of the water crossings on the way back to town for the last time. And again, here comes Kevin Brown. He's still playing catch-up. We didn't see Danny Laporte coming down on the 4th lap. What happened, Danny?
The gearing was good up the uphill. It's just, you know, from holding it so long in that in 2nd or 3rd gear, it just overheated the motor.
The race is beginning to get into its later stages now. We're on lap 5 of the 7-lap race. We'll begin heading to town pretty shortly. Here's Jeff Miller on his Honda, one of the top 125 riders in the West. Number 2 is Jim Baugh on his Suzuki. And here's Jeff Smith coming around, making a water crossing again. We're waiting to see if we see some leaders before heading back. And here's Ron Naylor. He avoids a good share of the water. Wonder if he's had a problem there earlier in the day. On the way back to town, we stop and take a couple shots at one of the road cuts heading up the hillside. Naylor's gone by a little while back, and that's Duke Dowell heading up, so he's moved up. We haven't seen Duke in a little while. We must have just missed him further back on the course, and there's Tony Hendon. So Dowell's gotten by Hendon. We'll have to see if Hendon can't catch him before the race closes out. Okay, back, quick view at the pits, and here's the finish line. We got Ron Naylor coming in first on his Can-Am.
Okay. Get out of the way.
Give me the sparkling water.
What's wrong with the pipe? Did I? Bad. I don't know what happened to your brake. Something just went lost the pad or something.
Well, something. I think the spline spun over or something.
Oh, really? What?
Cruising in next is Curtis Dice for the fine run. Now these times will be adjusted because it's a staggered starts. Next rider in, there's Tony Hendon coming in with Duke Dowell just behind him. Next up is Corky Mahan with Dan Lees wheeling down the street. Looks like he's had a good day. And close up next, that's Scott Plessinger with Kevin Brown is really caught up. Right on Scott Plessinger. And Danny Laporte is a lap down. Here we are with race winner Ron Naylor.
Fast. I like fast courses.
Did you have any problems at all?
Well, I had a number of small problems. For some reason, on the going out on my third lap, my throttle cable come out of the throttle itself. I had to stop and put it back in and fix it. And then I completely lost fire one time. I don't know if it got a little water in the ignition or what, but it just quit running, and I coasted to a stop, and it took me about 2 minutes, and I just moved some wires around and started working again. But from then on, my silencer fell off, and then it started running real good.
I figured it would.
How was the competition compared to past years, Ron?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because I'm riding a lot better than I have in the past few years.
Why is that?
Well, I've had this bike quite a while, and I've been getting real used to it, and it's performing real well, and so that's helping out.
How's this course compared to the one near Haley?
It's faster. It's not really as much technical stuff, but I like the downhills, real technical downhills, and I'm pretty good at them.
Thank you.
Now we'll talk with series points leader Kevin Brown.
Yeah. Terrible on the start, but I had a good day after that. That's pretty much it.
What was the problem with the start?
I got in a bunch of barbed wire out there, locked up both wheels, and I had to stop and get all that junk out of there before we could go.
Is that right?
So I was like, if there's a dead last, that's probably me for a while. So that started for a bad day. Everything after that, though, went pretty good. You know, I fell down a couple of times, but it's got to be expected in this country.
And that's the conclusion of the 1987 Sun Valley Grand Prix. At this time, Red Line would like to congratulate Ron Dillon and Dirt MC on a fine race. Here's the results of the 1987 Sun Valley Grand Prix. First overall, Ron Naylor on Can-Am. Second, Curtis Dice on Honda. Third is a tie between Duke Dowell and Tony Hendon. Fifth place goes to Scott Plessinger on Can-Am. Sixth is Kevin Brown on Honda. Seventh is Corky Mahan, Husqvarna. 8 is Dan Lees on Yamaha. 9 is John Haker in first four-stroke on Husqvarna. 10 is Jim Langar, also on Husky. Class breakdowns, 250 expert. Again, tie between Duke Dowell and Tony Hendon, and second or third goes to Scott Plessinger. 125 expert, Jeff Miller on Honda, Nick Collin on KTM. The 500 class had Ron Naylor, Curtis Dice, 1-2. Four-stroke expert class, John Haker on Husky, David Rhodes on his Husqvarna, and Scott Kindler came from Arizona on his ATK. Senior expert class, Bill Maxim on Honda, Wiz McNeil on Honda, and Bruce Russ on Honda. Super Senior Expert class had Jeff Smith on the Can-Am. Second place, Roger Dubree on Honda. Third place goes to Jesse Goldhurt on KTM. Open Intermediate class, Steve Aquerigi on Honda, Brian Howe on Honda, and Dana Thomas, third place on Yamaha. 250 Intermediate class, Rocky Race on Yamaha, Scott Nodell on Honda, and third place goes to Tom Adey on Honda Mounted. Redline Video would like to thank you very much for joining us for today's race. We hope to see you again soon at another National Hare Scramble race. We're here with Mark Hyde, 1986 National Hare Scramble Champion and rider for Team Husqvarna. And we've got some rider techniques that the team is going to demonstrate, and Mark is going to fill us in on the different techniques they use to get down different obstacles. Maybe you could tell us who the other team members are, Mark.
Okay, our team for this year, I'm myself, Mark Hyde. I'm riding a 430 automatic most of the time, and sometimes 430 shift bike. Then we have Ed Lojack riding a 250 cross country, and Fritz Cadillac riding a 430 cross country. And on the rock section that you'll see today, what you want to do in rocks, originally you set your bike up, you want it set up soft for rocks to soak up the rough spots. And when you come up to a rocky section, what you want to do is like pick your line that you're going to go through, but leave some variance. You don't want to hold a solid line. You sort of want to like pinball through it, so to speak. And you want to ride with the bike in the medium part of the power band. If you hit it with too much throttle, it tends to kick you around. And you just sort of want the bike to wander through it and find its own line, you know, and just let the bike, you know, have a general direction you want to go and just keep it within that direction. And also, anytime you ride, vision is important, because in rocky section you could be shot off going a direction you weren't planning on going, or there could be bottlenecks. So you always want to be looking up the trail, not right where your front wheel is at.
Okay, do you grip the tank with your knees, or do you stay loose on the bike?
When I'm riding in rocks, I try to just let the bike work underneath me. Certain sections you do grip the tank, but most of the time you just want, in the rocks, because the bike will take such sudden movements, you just want to be ready to just go with it wherever the bike wants to go. Like what I do is like I hold tight with my hands, but loose with the rest of my arms, and just sort of let the bike work its way through.
Alrighty, now do you scan quite a ways ahead, or as you were just talking about your vision? Do you keep moving your vision, or do you try to lock in on a closer area?
No, you want to keep moving your vision up the trail. That's one of the differences between being a good rider and being a better rider. The vision it gives you, you know, especially in bottleneck sections or bad sections, to get away around places. But the vision, sometimes you get to a real hard spot, you want to lock in on it a little while longer. But most of the time you're just trying to keep it, because if you look real close to where you're going, by the time you get there, you're past it. And so the vision there doesn't do you any good. You want to see where you're going, not where you are.
Okay, now you talked about your throttle technique. You said to stay in the mid-range of your power band.
Right.
Do you do that usually by throttle control, or holding the throttle steady and using clutch?
What I try to do, I ride an open bike, and you can do it on 125s because I've ridden those also quite a bit. But I try to just mostly throttle control, a little bit of clutch. You know, in real nasty section, you want to keep your hand on the clutch. Most of the time, I just use good throttle control and ride in the lower middle part of the power band on your motorcycle. And that way, because like I said, if you hit something really wide open in the rocks, the rear wheel spinning so fast, it can really change your direction in a hurry.
Okay. Mark, what do you do when you first come into a rocky bed? Do you really come to a complete stop and try to survey the situation, or can you kind of roll into it pretty quick and try to make a quick judgment? I'm sure it depends on the terrain, but...
Yeah, it does. I like to keep my momentum up in the rocks, because a lot of time if you get stopped, it's hard to get going and get a good rhythm. If you can keep your speed up, it makes, you know, you can go a lot faster if you have a nice rhythm going, and you can sort of flow through the sections better. Again, that's where vision comes into play. If you can just, you know, like be scanning and you're riding along on good trail, and then you come up on a rocky section, you know, look for a good place to enter, and then try to, you know, see where you're going to go down the line, and just keep it going that general direction, and then keep it in the middle part of the power. And even no matter, some bikes that you ride are a little peakier than others, but you can still, you know, ride around in that part of power band where it won't get you into trouble. And even though some bikes are 125s and they're peaky, you can still, you know, ride mellow on them and just keep that good rhythm going.
Okay, do you, ordinarily in a section like that, what about your braking? Do you drag your brakes to keep them at, just slightly to keep them at the ready, or do you just stay off of them entirely?
Now usually what I do is, like, if I'm going a lot faster coming in, I'll brake and get my speed set, and then jump into it at the speed that I feel comfortable at. Then maybe as I'm going through it and the section changes, try to speed up or slow down accordingly. Also, you know, it's very important to stand up too coming in, because that way if you took your bike and your bike works good all by itself, and then you take your rider weight being 150 or 200 pounds, whatever you weight, if you sit down on the bike, it just makes every obstacle you hit that much more intense. And so it's much better because you can just use your legs as another set of shock absorbers.
Okay. Mark, would you cap off for us all the main points for getting into a real rocky stream bed area or any kind of a rocky area?
Okay, the main thing you want to go, try to know before you go to a race site, that it is rocky, and set your bike up accordingly. Make sure the suspension is working good, and like I said, you set it up softer for rocks, and then vision is very important in any type of racing, but especially rocks because you don't know where you're going to be the next second. And try to stay loose on the bike in a good stand-up position over the center of the bike and let the bike work with you instead of against you.
Okay, sounds like good tips from national champ Mark Hyde.